Just general?
Wholesale.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And the apples are yours, are they?
My sister's.
Yeah. And are you registered with your local authority?
No.
Hi, I'm Rando Brad with the Rando Brad News Network, and on this episode, we're not really going to be talking about that first video that you've seen, only a little bit. We're going to be getting into the Amish, the Native Americans, and how they've been treated in the United States over the last couple of years, and basically the government overreach that takes place over food safety. So like I said, only a little bit. I'm pretty sure that that video, the license plate there, wasn't even from America, if we're going to get into it. But that's honestly only because if we were to take any film or footage of the Amish for this episode, that would basically just be like me stealing their souls. So anyway, let's get into it. It's the Rando Brad News Report. It's the Rando Brad News Report. Right. So this is kind of where it sucks. I have made the decision. I have to look off camera. I don't have a mask that I can wear to make it seem like I'm not doing that. But I have tried to retain as much information as possible before going forward. But that being said, I'm probably going to fuck it up. So I just want to be sure I'm getting this across straight. So apologize for that, but I am reading off a little transcript here. Nevertheless, let's get into it. This is kind of what we could be describing as a modern culinary clash. The government's regulatory pot is simmering with an unconventional ingredient, the Amish. Known for their traditional farming and direct food sales, this episode of government oversight isn't just sparking a debate about food safety, it's raising questions about cultural assimilation through regulation, echoing historical precedents like the treatment of the Native Americans. And we can really just pause right there. What do we encapsulate there? When we're talking about, the Amish and their traditional farming and how they go about their point of contact sales, but just, what do you want to call that? A farmer's market. That doesn't really sit well with the FDA. I think we kind of know that. It needs to be taxable. It needs to be oversight by the government with what food safety is, what quantifies for regulations of pesticides and what other, mind controlled stuff they're trying to put into our food system right now. We already know about fluoride in the water. We know we shouldn't be putting pesticides and having our apples coated with wax and all that stuff, but that's what they're going to force on us. So let's keep moving forward. As I look off camera, try not to get too distracted with that. The setting, let's imagine, let's dial it back. Let's get back here. Imagine tranquil, Jesus Christ, we'll edit this out. Maybe I won't. Imagine tranquil landscapes of the Amish community where you got the clitter clatter, of the horses, no more car engines, no more smoke, and simplicity is reigning supreme in your life. Or at least it did until the government deemed raw milk as potentially hazardous. And that's kind of what we're facing right now, literally. Recent skirmishes have unfolded around the Amish practice of selling raw milk, cheese, farm fresh produce directly to consumers. Government officials are treating this as basically a biohazard and are sparking a raw milk rebellion. And there's no real evidence of public harm. And maybe somebody out there has one receipt of, I had this raw milk and it did this horrible. I haven't seen it yet. And obviously when you're going to get milk, I've had some shit from Walmart where it just tasted like straight up fucking ass. I don't know if you've ever had Walmart milk, but I swear that stuff tastes so fucking unnatural and distasteful. It doesn't even go down smooth. My daughter has literally said to me, what is that? That isn't milk, Dad. I digress. Let's get back on the story here. So the Amish versus the USDA. I think I said FDA earlier. I might be incorrect. This whole thing's incorrect. We should all be citizen journalists. And if you think you can do better than me, please, let's get on it, man. Let's report. It's not about what I think. It's about what we think. So the Amish versus the USDA. The USDA is pushing for modern food safety. And honestly, there was a point in time where we needed this. They were poisoning all sorts of shit just in the name of money. So food safety is important. But it's kind of overkill in the Amish communities because it's not like we're going out there and we're buying constant food supply from the Amish. If you're like me, you know, I see a couple things on the side of the road where they have some eggs for sale, and I feel very lucky to be in a community where we can still sell eggs on the side of the road. Or let's say you have some honey. I love buying local honey here in, you know, a state where we have bee farmers. Or maple syrup. We have maple syrup out the Canada, you know, but it's Wisconsin. So I love being able to support those small farms, even if they're not necessarily Amish communities or they're Mennonite communities. It doesn't really matter. That's America. The freedom to do whatever you want and just exchange it back and forth with somebody without government oversight. That's my opinion. Let's get back on track. We're getting lost in this one. Boy, I'm passionate. The Amos Miller saga is a very emblematic case that involves Amos Miller, an Amish farmer whose legal battles over food sales symbolize resistance against regulatory overreach. I'll put some links to that below because that was a pretty interesting case. On the slow boil of assimilation, this is where the plot thickens. And it gets reminiscent of the historical actions towards Native Americans. And I really only brought them into this because I got reminded of, I want to say, the lack of care that's placed on Native American tribes in today's society still. Here in Wisconsin, we have a tribe that's, I want to say, about 45 minutes from me. Not to totally dox my location today. But whenever a kidnapping or a murder happens to that tribe, it's never really investigated because it's out of the jurisdiction and it's also out of the give a fuck of any of the white people, if we're going to get right down to it. That's my opinion. What's your opinion? Put it in the comments. Maybe I'm full of shit. So, sticking back to what we're happening here, regulation as a simulation, much like the Indian Removal Act and the Dawes Act, aimed at forcibly integrating Native Americans, current regulations might be nudging the Amish towards mainstream norms as well, suggesting a modernized or be marginalized approach. And we can kind of look over at Canada. Our cousin up there in the North Canada. I want to say, I'll probably just put this in the comments below too, but I'm understanding that there was a little bit of a land grab from the Amish. I guess people who were traveling during the COVID time frame that were Amish, and obviously they don't really care about your government bullshit disease that you're pretending to push on us. That's my opinion. So when they were still traveling back and forth and doing their day-to-day life, because that's how they have to live to survive, they were receiving fines. But they were receiving these fines through a digital transaction. And obviously it's the Amish. How the fuck are they going to get this transaction and pay this online? So when they found out, that there's a lien against their property because the government decided to impose the back fee on their property, well, now they're just fucking swiping land from people. We'll put this in the comments. So, cultural erosion, to get back on track, each fine, each raid, chips away at the Amish way of life, potentially diluting the cultural identity, mirroring the cultural dislocation faced by Native Americans under the past policies of a few decades ago. The irony of safety, I swear, every time they want to do something, don't they do it in the name of safety? These regulations might paradoxically make Amish life more hazardous by forcing them into unfamiliar bureaucratic waters, similar to how Native Americans were pushed into alien ways of life under the guise of progress. We can't just do this. I understand some of you are probably thinking to yourself, well, this doesn't even affect me. There's a line here that's being drawn. In some places, you can't even collect the rain from your roof to put in your own garden. Where are we drawing the line of personal freedom, our right to farm, our right to agriculture for our own families? It seems like they're taking a little bit too much overreach, and we need to really take time, maybe just look at what they're doing to the Amish right now and understand that this isn't freedom. In conclusion, what's brewing might be more than a food safety spat. could be an unintentional recipe for cultural assimilation. The Amish, with their steadfast ways, serve as a contemporary reminder that progress isn't always forward, echoing the historic struggles of Native American against their cultural erasure. Now, the Amish, they resist blending into the melting pot of the modern life, much like Native Americans resisted their assimilation. Now, whether this is just kind of the government being a clumsy machine of not knowing what the fuck they're doing and just trying their best, which could be, conspiracy theory aside, let's really touch on that. It could just be the fact that we're all trying to push towards what we think is life, and we're echoing that through each representative, and they're just trying to do the best that they can in that given state of mind or in time, because that's what we're all kind of doing, right? And due to that, we may just have what is over time a harmonious dish of assimilation, and there's no hard feelings or cruelty about it. Obviously, we can look back at the Native Americans and we can say there was a lot of cruelty about that. Hopefully times have changed, though, and we can look at this from a not conspiracy theory side and just say, well, this is something that we need to address before it gets more out of line and crazy with the overreach. But if it is a conspiracy theory, and it is real, and they're just trying to stomp out anybody who doesn't agree with what they say, now we all really might want to buckle up and make sure that we're prepared on our end. Because if they're coming for them, they could be coming for you next. All right, as always, I'm Rando Brad, the best you ever had. But for this episode, I really want to clarify, most of this is just my fucking opinion, based off of some logical fact. Please don't come and get me in a black van. That was the Rando Brad News Report. The Rando Brad News Report. I'm going to feature the sponsors more next time. Sorry, guys.